Chapter 4. I'm Here for Morgan. Darius prayed. He begged for a Merry Christmas for Sophie and himself while sea spray flew on either side of the boat. The Formula 310 safety glass, sleek, angled, and reflecting baking rays, protected him and the man he'd roped into driving him out from the worst of the wet, although Darius could use a cooling. Morgan's love shack, masked inside a deserted aisle with resort potential, awaited. An odd choice for a meeting considering Morgan had another hotel nearby. Isolation could only mean one thing. The one thing Sophie wouldn't allow, but may have difficulty fending off. With the great pain in her heart, she might do things she'd regret. Darius wished she regretted leaving him. But protecting her came first, whatever her sentiments. Jungle greens, blazing white shores, tranquil lagoons, and rocky outbanks took fast form. Peaceful enough if one looked to the swoop of seabirds. They glided in off sapphire waters, wings spread without a care. Still, his brows bunched. Muscles knotted while his skin quivered with anticipated fallout. Good, bad, potentially deadly if Sophie could get the drop on him. The latter was preferable to her walking away. Walking away after she'd righted his collar in Gamer's Grotto and told him what a drug love was. Talk about bait. And competing for Morgan's business, something he'd never wanted, was just the line Darius needed to retrieve his marriage. Sophie's mind was her greatest asset. That and the impassioned heart that thundered to speeds he admired more than matched. But a man like Morgan cared more for packaging. Tearing it off. Sophie must be desperate to come this far. As leagues fell away, he framed his forehead between thumb and forefinger and refused to wonder at what could have happened. What still may happen if his plan failed. Surrounded by water, Sophie's biggest bugaboo, if she'd been honest when confessing after his freak-out about spiders, she would have to wait with Darius. And he would take whatever time it took Morgan to shake the drag Darius placed on him and work with her. Work things out, he wished. Sophie was all he wanted for Christmas, and more. If only she'd believe him. The boat beneath skipped waves while the helicopter Sophie was scheduled to arrive in spiraled upward. It reached altitude in a whipping of palm fronds and an inquisitive turn of Sophie's head. It looked like her. He squinted and watched as she hunkered slightly, a hand clapped to her flopping hat. The helipad constructed beyond the approaching pier lent the distance required to camouflage the who inside the boat, and that was all for the good. Speed gave way to careful navigation, and Darius kept his head low, pulling down his own hat to prevent discovery. A similar build and a drive to win were the only things Darius and Morgan had in common. Sophie, hand still holding her hat in place, wearing face-shading glasses and the purse she never left home without, trotted toward the pier. As always, she had a sweater wrapped around her midsection. Her sandaled feet, so petite, the left one supporting a sparkling anklet, dug into the sand as she walked. What bags she'd brought lay stacked on the periphery of the helipad. Sophie never traveled light, although she may have planned to remain far longer than any presentation required. "Shall I wait?" the captain asked Darius, who was the only crew member. A territorial jolt rocked him from head to heels. "Do that, and I'll ensure you lose your captain's credentials." "Aye, aye, Mr. Andino. But hurry. I can't leave your wife stranded if she asks me to take her back to civilization." "Fine. Not fine. She is your wife." Darius collected his backpack and stepped onto the built-in seating along the boat's edge. When they neared the pier, he hopped from boat to undulating wood. The captain downshifted, turned, and sped off while Darius waited as long as possible. He twisted to watch the boat's departure and willed Sophie to believe he was Morgan. Anyone but himself, the one man that Sophie would reject, even if he were the last male on Earth. Mr. Morgan, thank you for meeting me. Her light call, professional yet still exuding personal, came close. Closer when she said, I appreciate you making time when we both know you'd prefer Aspen. Here it comes. Sweet pea perfume and a volcanic blast that may give rise to another island chain. Darius turned. She flicked her hair and thrust a hand forward, so confident until realization immobilized her. You! She whipped off her sunglasses. It's wonderful seeing you again. Seeing me? Try sabotaging me? Stalking me? Making me wish I'd dropped out of college, let alone taken that damned internship? You're certifiable. She crammed sunglasses in her purse and tore off her hat to swat him with it. She'd done the same with the hairy spider that crawled out of her purse as she'd waited in the foyer of Andino HQ so long ago. She'd been so full of herself, so incredibly naive about what she would or wouldn't do on a personal level. Darius had been the same. But predicting trends by numbers, not instinct, would make him billions, she'd assured him. If only he took a chance and opened his mind. Darius had opened more than his mind to his would-be intern-going warrior woman with a rolled-up magazine on the offending arachnid. It was instinct about the cute quant that urged him on. She whacked him again, in real time, hissing curses. I'm eccentric, he supplied. He snatched her hat and scowled. But I'm no bug. That is too rude. She gulped, then shouted at the frothing sea. Come back here. I'll sue. Sue who? It's Christmas time, Darius said. The boatman is speeding toward friends and family, no doubt. Well, we're neither, she raged. Not friends and not family, as far as I'm concerned. So where does that leave me? You're in a prime position to show the impact of your impact fund, he said. Her stone-silent, think-again expression would make him smile if they were anywhere else. I'm interested to see what you've put together. She lifted her chin, clutched her purse to her chest, and stalked past him onto a handy sandbar. Darius gaped. He clapped a hand to his forehead, then followed. Sea foam sloshed and her toes and ankles got more than wet. She'd nearly convinced him that she'd overcome her phobia when the whimper came. It wasn't too loud, but loud enough. Cross-currents rushed out beneath them. She wobbled but kept walking forward in modest shorts. Get back here, he called. Riptides were dangerous, and she had zero practical experience. Grabbing her may end with her intentionally drowning herself to avoid him. Your days of directing are over, she called shakily. Sure, fine, but the boat is gone, Darius said coolly, despite the tension seizing him. There's no sense drowning yourself. Morgan will be here soon. Unless Nia managed his competition into a tighter corner than Darius imagined. His aunt may wish her daughter was on lockdown, but Nia was a weapon to be deployed, and not in uptown game stores. Sophie was a wounded warrior fighting herself, and that had to stop. The tide rose higher. He cleared his throat. Your presentation will shine compared to the dinosaur in my backpack, he said to reach her logical side. In reality, Darius had thrown together something sure to turn Morgan's stomach and get Sophie thinking. The male birth control pill that supposedly needed funding for further development was a dual-action miracle. A single pill would prevent unwanted pregnancy for a full month, while squelching the overactive libido that humiliated many. Why don't I believe you? She called with another wobble. Get back here, he growled. Sophie complied after another spray of foam soaked her shorts. Thank God, he breathed. Sign the papers, she growled in his face. She snatched her hat back and stalked to shore with a sick look directed at the wet. Then we'll see what happens. Cash flow could happen, he rushed to say in her wake. There's no need to become the entertainment while others clean up our clients. The strap of her purse fell, and he rushed to retrieve it, rubbing damp sand off before tucking it back between her and the purse. Our clients? She repeated with a disgusted huff. Those we could divide between us if we worked like opposite sides of a coin. An unspoken partnership. That was better than none, Darius thought. We don't have to be a couple to make money together. You work the forward thinkers, I'll work the rest. Her shoulders dropped a hair while her chin lifted. You mean that? Darius steadied himself against the nearness of soft, creamy skin and a fine bone structure calling for close study. We always complemented one another, and you killed all the creepy crawlers. He flashed her with wide eyes and dark lashes. Unfair, but this was war. Too bad he hadn't yielded the battle over saving the world before today. It may have saved his marriage. You should cut me a check, she said, or some slack since I never charged for pest control. You're generous, Sophie, so why stop now? Offer your clients greater options, more opportunity outside singular ventures that, noble as they are, can be risky. Man has been seeking a faster, better way to make saltwater drinkable since time began. Impact investing covers so much more. She moved past his eyes to check out his linen-covered chest. Teach me, he crooned. Funny, that's what Morgan said. Is that so? Darius stuffed anger and forced a laugh. Let's find this retreat house so we can mitigate the heat or at least slip into something more comfortable. Sweet pea perfume caught the breeze much like Sophie's heavy-lidded inspection, crystal blue and hinting wickedness. A can of Raid is all the comfort you'll get, she said with a gulp. You're a traditional man, but even in drag, your intentions would be clear as... Never mind. I rarely mind, but a man can't help what he is or where his tastes run. Well, you'd better. I'm here for Morgan.